To go to the National Assembly chambers where his State of the Nation address will be happening. Pictures on Hilary Mutyambai, Chief Justice Martha Koome, a bunch of cabinet secretaries attending the 8th address of the nation by President Uhuru Kenyatta. The president is expected to address both houses of parliament. This is in accordance to Article 132 of the Constitution. The president is expected to give on the scorecard of the government, and this is an address that is likely to take 2 to 3 hours. Just to recap on what happened last year, the president delivered his speech in 2 hours 45 minutes, giving the scorecard of his infrastructure to explain the ballooning debt. The Central Bank of Kenya has indicated that the international debt stands at 4 trillion and the local debt stands at 2.5 trillion. The president's address comes at the time when the country is expected to go into an election in less than 8 months to come. This is the second term and the last term of President Uhuru Kenyatta in office. He is expected to give one more State of the Nation address in accordance to Article 132 of the Constitution, where it provides that the sitting head of state addresses and Somali have battling insecurity. The rebels, the Tigrays, and the government of Abiy, the Prime Minister of Ethiopia. Lords and both houses of and the Tigrays. The president is expected today to address both houses of parliament in accordance to the Constitution. This is expected to take probably 2 to 3 hours, having in mind this is his last or second last address. The head of state is expected to address, among other issues, COVID-19 pandemic, how the country will be battling the new variant. The president will also be expected to speak matters security, ballooning debt. Giverson.
And the president has just made his way into the chambers, into the parliament chambers, and the attendants, of course, are senators and members of parliament from the National Assembly. And the president is expected to give his eighth, or what could be his last of his the State of the Nation address. And so we go live from the PBU, a live broadcast, to listen to what the president has to say.
The president will be expected to talk, among other issues, the development track record of the ruling Jubilee Party. In accordance to the Constitution, the president is expected to give his 10 years track record, what he promised to the people and what he has delivered. Today's parliament address by the head of state is second under the COVID-19 adherence. This coming at a time when the world and nation was battling the COVID-19 pandemic, and 140 members of parliament have been allowed into the chambers adhere to the COVID-19 protocols. The head of state is also expected to give on how the country will be battling the next the just discovered variant. The president is also expected to give a way forward and maybe the state of election preparedness. This is coming at the time when IEBC, the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission, Chairman Wafula Chebukati, has been asking the Treasury to release the funds that will aid the 2022 general election. Remember, the 2022 general election will be one that will see Deputy President William Ruto trying to succeed his boss, President Uhuru Kenyatta. The former Prime Minister Raila Odinga will also be making his 5th stab. He is expected to declare his presidential ambitions bid on 10th December this year, Also on the ballot is ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi, who has already been declared by the ANC party as their flag bearer. Also, the former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka, who are expected here in Parliament, has already made a declarations that he will be making a stab at the presidential bid. Ford Kenya party leader Moses Wetangula and Kanu Senator Gideon Moi, who is Kanu chairman Gideon Moi, who is also Baringo senator, has declared his presidential bid, are all under the Oak umbrella that are expected to battle it out with Raila Odinga, who is ODM party leader, flag bearer, and is expected to announce his presidential bid in 10th December 2021. This address comes at the time when there's a lot of political temperatures flaring, coming at the time when the president and his deputy would not be reading from the same slate. This also coming at the time when members of parliament allied to the deputy president from the Senate was supposed to be today attending the president's address in the chambers, have cried foul that they have not been invited to attend the 8th State of the Nation address. Nothing much different from the last State of the Nation address. We saw members of parliament allied to the DP protest that the list that was submitted to the chambers were that of the pro-handshake leaders. Also, the State of the Nation address is coming at the time when the High Court and the Court of Appeal declared that BBI, the Building Bridges Initiative that was birthed through the handshake between the former Prime Minister and President Uhuru Kenyatta, as null and void and unconstitutional. This coming at the time also when the state and the BBI Secretariat are in courts at the Supreme Court appealing the decision of the Court of Appeal to uphold the Court of the High Court decision that nullified the BBI. Remember, if the BBI had gone through the country, maybe this would have been the address, State of the Nation address the president would have made after probably the country staring at a referendum. Also, this is the State of the Nation address that could be the second last of President Uhuru Kenyatta, as he's expected to give the last address of the nation next year as he prepares to exit office. So far, the head of state has addressed a seven State of the Nation address in Parliament, apart from 2020 when the country was grappling with COVID-19, that it made it impossible for the president, His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta, to make his address and give the scorecard. The head of state is expected to give the scorecard for under two and a half hours, giving their detailed report on the ballooning debt of the country, give the detailed report on infrastructure, the Big Four agenda that the Jubilee administration had manifested and promised the people when they ascended power in 2013. This also happening at a significant date when President Uhuru Kenyatta would have held the National Delegation Conference of Jubilee Party at Party headquarters in Nairobi.
And the country is so much expecting about what the president is going to say today, because this is, or rather could be, his last State of the Nation address. And what is much concern to the citizens, or rather wananchi, is the ballooning, debt of the international debt to the country, going to billions of shillings, almost 10 billions, and of course, the high cost of living. People we've spoke to across the country say the state of the economy is really wanting, and they cannot continue to afford even basic commodities as we speak. And so that is so much expected from the president to say, or rather to highlight exactly how the government is going to address that particular issue. And just being an electioneering period, just about 8 months before the general elections in August 2022, the country is really expectant to hear on what the president will say. It will speak to the much-awaited general elections next year. And of course, Raila Odinga is here, the ODM party leader. I've seen, of course, Deputy President William Ruto is here. He's welcomed his boss as expected. Take a function. And of course, we've not seen, Angela, we've not seen Okako principals, except, of course, the two senators, Gideon Moe, who is the KANU party leader, and of course, Moses Wetangula, who is party leader for Kenya. We've not seen Mudavadi, party leader ANC, and we've not seen his counterpart, Kalonzo Musyoka, Wiper party leader. And this is interesting. It's quite
be addressed by President Uhuru Kenyatta at the National Assembly chambers, where head of state will give his 8th State of the Nation address. Kenyans are eager to hear what the head of state has for the people. Remember, this is coming at the time when the president reopened the country in October and lifted the country from curfew. And the reopening of the country, this is coming at a time when all the political temperatures are flaring in the country, coming at a time also when we are staring at a general election which is offering in 8 months' time. The head of state, President Uhuru Kenyatta, is also expected to speak at the State of Judiciary. Give us and remember, this is the time when more than ever the judiciary has been able to thwart and maybe declare a lot of institutions of government unconstitutional. We saw the NMS, which was created by President Uhuru Kenyatta, being declared null and void. Huduma Center. We also saw a landmark ruling. The judiciary, the High Court, Court of Appeal declared BBI, the Building Bridges Initiative, unconstitutional. It will be interesting to hear what the head of state speaks. Remember, the head of state has been on the forefront in bringing leaders together on board in what was battered by the handshake. The BBI would have seen the change of the amendment of the 2010 Constitution to have battered a lot of positions, including the positions of the Deputy Prime Minister, position of a Prime Minister, to Deputy Prime Minister, office of the opposition, the Ombudsman, and also various the 35% allocation to the counties. These are among the issues the President Uhuru Kenyatta wanted to add and envisioned to have added it to his legacy when he leaves office in August 2022 after the general elections. The president is now at the parliament buildings, the National Assembly chambers, where Justin Muturi, the Speaker of the National Assembly, will usher the head of state in accordance to the parliamentary procedures to address the 8th State of the Nation address. The 8th State of the Nation address is anchored in Article 132 of the Constitution, that a sitting president is expected to yearly give both houses of parliament an address in his scorecard to address the country on a number of issues.
But speaking of the constitutional changes, or rather what we call BBI, it will be very interesting, Angela, to see what transpired, what will transpire in the Supreme Court, because you cannot really tell how that court case will go. It's still active, supposed to be, heard in February and maybe determined at a date later. But right now, how about we take you live to Parliament chambers to see what the president has to say for the day.
Those Kenyans are taken care of on your screen. There's an indication